Recording in progress.
She doesn't work on Tuesdays. That's what she said.
Is Lydia on her way?
I don't know, she hasn't told you?
See.
So she must be on the way.
All right, it's 5 p.m. Welcome. I will now call the special meeting of the Federal Way City Council meeting to order for January 7th, 2025. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everyone. We've got a study session for both the Federal Way Farmers Market and the transition that we'll be talking about, as well as the potential for a public market and the representatives there. So with that, Bill, why don't I turn it over to you? And we also have the Eels, Rose and David, and Carla Kolobob, their daughter, who we want to say thank you for 20 years of successful running of the Federal Way Farmers Market. But with that, exactly. Bill?
So this study session is going to update you on the transition. So as you know, the market was established 21 years ago by this family who is with us today. We granted as a city seed money, and they paid the city back, which is a monumental effort. And for their efforts, after 20 years, Mayor Farrell recognized them with a key to the city last year. So now they would like to now partner with the city in order to retire their role with the Federal Way Farmers Market. The ultimate goal for them is they're going to phase out this family business, which is a 501 organization, 501c organization. And they are very willing to come to an agreement with the city for the transfer of assets to the market, including the name and the equipment. Oops, didn't change. So now their daughter, Carla, who's also in the front row, would like to assist the city during the 2025 season to transition the partnership by taking a role of market manager during the upcoming season. She would become a city seasonal employee during the transition under the supervision of the mayor's office. And all financial transactions for the event would be under the purview of the city. So our finance department would be involved, and there will also be a role for our parks people too, with the setup and the takedown. So in analyzing the last 4 years of their finances, this market will be revenue neutral in this transition period for the city of Federal Way. Income, we've analyzed, and we're going deeper and deeper, includes not only revenue, but also sponsorships. Their expenses include not only past expenses, but also anticipated costs as we try to take this up to another level. And then, as I mentioned, the labor expenses that are projected will include 2 seasonal managerial employees, Carla and someone else, and the seasonal setup and takedown labor that will be brought to us by Parks. Carla didn't want to give up that task, but we pinned her around behind her back. And then, of course, whatever has to be done with finance will also be compensated as well, too. So the transition will begin February 1, maybe a couple days later, as we will have in front of you via the Parks Committee the buying of the assets in order to run the market. And vendor registration always starts February 1. And of course, then, as usual, the market will open on May 10th, Mother's Day weekend, and it'll go through the end of October. So the other logistics that are very important is there are pieces that this community rely on. For instance, we have a produce scholarship from the hospital, and that will continue under city finance, but that's $10,000 that's distributed to retirees and families. The Taste of Federal Way fundraiser for nonprofits would continue, as that's very important to not only the nonprofits, but the restaurants that are, getting in front of people and making money. That includes, and of course we have Vicki in the front row, the continuation of Federal Way's Got Talent. We'll continue to leverage Shop Local and other events. So basically, there'll be no change to what the people see, just we will enhance it with our support. And we will also work off of what's already a group that meets 2 or 3 times a year and formally create the Ad Hoc Advisory Group, which is made up of all the people in the community who, do events, Shelley Paul's group, et cetera, et cetera. So everybody who has anything to do with the market's going to be there and help us move this forward, including there's members of the council who are already volunteering. As far as location goes, the Commons has already enthusiastically said they'd like to have us back, which is a good thing for continuity, and then we can use the year to plan where we're going next. So that's basically the layout. We're going to keep you informed, financially. Spreadsheets. We'll be at Parks in a week to talk about the equipment that's needed, the equipment that we'll, get from the family, and just continue to make this something that you're all involved in, the community's involved with, and we're going to keep this town square, this place to be 6 months a year, going into the future. So, any questions?
Would you like to talk about the, before we open it up for questions?
The donut machine?
Well, yeah, the
I forgot about the donut machine.
list, the anticipated, I think you'd put together an item, an agenda item for committee. Can you talk a little bit about some of the, what the council can expect moving forward?
It's a donut machine somewhere. What we have is, what will be at the next Parks meeting next week is looking at all the equipment that makes this market work. And from a total quality management point of view, there's the 2 storage units, both on wheels, that go to the market. That's where our parks people can store them over the weekend behind the fence, bring them in, set everything up, and then, of course, it's also security. It sort of acts as a vault. And then they go back into storage afterwards, meaning you're not unpacking a truck, packing a truck, doing it twice and all those things. Also in there is the tents, the chairs, all the infrastructure, all the things used by the DJ, Make Music Federal Way, Shop Local Federal Way. And then, of course, there's certain pieces of equipment that are used. Just all the basics are basically included in that.
Okay. Right now, we ballpark that at about $32,000.
Yeah, up to 32,000, but everything will be assessed. I mean, we already have Blue Book values on some of the items, a tent that's been used a couple years, what's that worth? But it's better for us to work with what's there versus start anew, because that brings us in with a break-even budget as well, too. So Parks is an agenda bill that you'll see in a few days, and then we'll discuss that in detail next week.
When is the next Parks Committee meeting?
It's next Tuesday, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good.
Next Tuesday, so.
Okay, Council President.
So could you talk a little bit, Bill, about what we're talking for the future? Not this year, but next year, and what council members might be involved with that discussion?
Well, I would say we've got the group of 3 right now, that's you and
enumerate-
Susan.
uh-huh.
And we would continue to meet to talk about next year, and they would be informed by that ad hoc advisory group
And that
of
is?
community people.
And that is who?
What's that?
Say their name so they know.
Who's on there? You and Susan and Jack Dovey
Well-
are the 3 council members who are on the council group. Then the ad hoc group is everybody from Shelley Pauls and Vicki Chenoweth, past board members. We're going to bring, the whole gang will be there that have worked on this farmer's market for the last 21 years. And we have a list that we'll submit to you that Rose and I have put together of those who are currently involved and the alumni.
So
to
we
make this-
have a lot of ideas that we're going to bring forward for the future.
Exactly.
And I'm glad we're finally partnering with you. Thank heavens, after 20 years, about time. It's a very important part of our community. There's so many people from our community that will go there. And I noticed a lot of people use the coupons that they get from tokens, yeah. And it's a wonderful thing to get fresh fruit. One other thing,
Yes.
Senator Wilson sent out a mailer that's a little confusing, because she talked about behind a cultural market. Can you explain the difference?
Well, that's the El Centro de Raza market? No. You're going to hear about this in the second part of our study session.
Okay,
So,
Well, there's another one, though, also at Centro de la Raza.
Yeah, they're going to have a mercado,
Is that what it's called, a Mercado?
market,
Oh, market, oh.
Espanol for market.
Oh.
So
Okay.
that's a good thing, too.
Thank you. Councilmember Dovey?
Yeah, I got two questions.
Yes, sir.
An ad hoc committee is great, but wouldn't we want to maybe think about it like a commission? So there's a little bit more commitment than ad hoc? I mean, these people that, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm asking for more infrastructure than we need, but we might want to think about for future, as we become more and more involved in the, going forward, it becomes like the farmer's market commission or, you know, community market, farmer's market, whatever it is, and it's, those people are not ad hoc. Ad hoc is you're here for a day and maybe you go away later, but we might want to have it a little more formalized. I'm not suggesting we do that right now, I'm
Yeah.
just putting that out
I
there.
think it's a great idea. Ad hoc is, don't tell anybody, we're not on TV or anything. That's a way to get people who are so busy doing other things to go to some meetings, and then they don't think they're signed up for 3 years and once a month.
Okay.
But no, I agree, I think we need, I think we need it, I agree totally.
Okay, and the other thing I'll just bring up, this is kind of like totally off the wall, but I got a call today about the community networks gardens, and they've lost their executive director who plants all the gardens and runs all those things. And I mean, we got people here with community market, Mark Stanley finally retired. We have community market, we have farmers market, and we have two amazing gardens that supply people food. I don't know if there's a play to put it all together, but it might be bigger than just the farmer's market. There might be a part of the ad hoc committee or whatever might want to be part of the farmer's market, and Federal Way brings food to the farmer's market to give away to people like they do the Shag and, I'm not give away, but support people
Great
that
idea.
need the services.
Yeah?
Okay.
So anyway, I just throw that
It's on
out
the
as
agenda.
something to put on the
It's
table.
on our list, it's
All
on the
right.
table.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Councilmember Honda?
Thank you. So for several years, there's been a Federal Way Farmers Market Support Group. And I would not, at this point, support another commission. Commissions cost money. They cost staff time and they cost money. And I think we go through the next year with a group of volunteers who are interested in helping plan the future of the farmers market and then see what happens. But commissions do cost money. So that's something to think about.
Okay, well, all right, we'll kick that around. That's actually in the ad hoc committee. That's what you guys are going to be talking about. And then we'll get it back here. This is going to be an iterative process as we move forward. Councilmember.
Yes. I'm looking forward to seeing how this turns out and where we go with this. Some of my questions I have are based on more of like the larger picture. You had mentioned that we'll be discussing this more in depth on next Tuesday's park meeting. I assume that this project will go underneath the Parks Department then?
Right now, it's for this 1-year transition, it's going to be under the mayor's office with the support of the other departments.
Okay.
So finance is going to have a role to make sure we do that properly. Parks is very glad about helping us with the manual labor, getting it set up and taking it down. But for this point, so that it's as close to the mayor and council as possible, it's running out of the mayor's office.
Gotcha. And then who will be directly in charge of finding the vendors and communicating with vendors and handling all that? Will that?
That'll be, continue to be the family member, Carla.
Okay.
Because she's got the relationships, and that will continue.
Now, will Carla be considered a Federal Way employee at that point in time?
She'll be a seasonal employee.
Okay. And then all responsibilities, resourcing, all that stuff will be coming from the city then?
Sure, yes.
Although what?
It sounds like we'll be picking up the equipment from them, but like there's also going to be logistics, there's going to be requirements of, cash up front in case you need all that stuff. I'm just making sure that I understand that we'll be actually acquiring the whole corporation underneath of us,
Yeah.
organization, and then we'll be then rehiring out to make sure they can fill those seats.
That's correct.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that I understood the city will be actually literally controlling the whole aspect and then hiring out that part.
That's correct. And what we really, well, it's, on one level, the mayor's office, I think Parks, the reason why it needs to go to Parks is because this will naturally be a Parks Department mayor's office collaboration.
And will the economic development be in the middle of this too, or be part of that since it's underneath of
They'll
the
be part of Shop Local.
shop local?
That sounds like a really good idea.
Yeah, well,
exactly.
SBDC and a few other things will be
That's
thrown
right.
in, I'm
Sure.
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, I knew one of the assets they do have is the website. Will we be keeping that separate, or will we be merging that into the shop local?
Oh, that's a good question. We're gonna.
We've yet to ask you for your advice on that. So,
Right, yeah, you know anybody we can talk to about that?
All right.
So,
I used to look at
no.
the data 10 years ago, so I know how it used to
weird,
go.
yeah.
That's right. So the URL will be maintained, the website will be maintained, it'll be under our umbrella for the year. And then we'll move forward with that.
Okay, I'll have more questions probably on Tuesday when I have a little
Yeah.
bit more to look at.
Sure.
Looking forward
And
to it, though.
we do want to circle back with you and get some suggestions on the website and about how moving forward.
Gotcha.
So be
Thank you.
thinking about that, please.
Yeah, your name came up from the family.
Councilmember Honda?
Oh, I thought Lydia had her slide on. So, if Carl is going to be the one that gets the vendors and maintains a relationship with the vendors, it's not just a Saturday job. So is there a minimum amount of hours that we expect her to work?
Correct.
Or a maximum amount of
Correct.
hours?
Correct. Yeah, she'll be at the seasonal temporary limit, and in talking with her, we can make that work. So she'll be working, yes, she'll be on the ground, but then during the week, she'll also be doing
Right.
tasks along with her person.
I heard 17 hours a week. Did we?
Under 20s, but we're thinking 17 is
20.
going to work, yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
yeah.
Thanks.
And-
Okay, Council President?
I just want to say that of all the things we talk about in this city, this is one of the areas that our community is most interested in because of all the possibilities that could be involved with, potentially in the future, Councilmember Dovey has talked about an outdoor skating rink, talking about possibly a Christmas market, so it's more of a year-round thing, talking about things that bring our community together so we feel that, so many people will go to the market on Saturday mornings, sit and talk when it's not raining. And it's got kind of what they said, we'll meet you at the market. It's a wonderful thing. And it's also a wonderful thing for people to get their fresh vegetables right from the ground. That's really a good thing. But moving forward in the future, I can see it, in Europe, not to mention places like New Orleans. We were just in Florida at Tampa Bay. They have open markets, and they have wonderful things going on during the winter time that we haven't tapped into, and I think it's a exciting thing to do. Plus, we need to incorporate all this when we discuss better lights on our trees at Christmas, something more joyful, something you can see. So we may be asking you for more money than you think.
Okay, all right.
But when we were in Tampa Bay, the amount of lights on the trees that were lit up were phenomenal. And a lot of vendors at Christmas, and they closed down the streets, and it was a real party atmosphere for people to go and do something. People are always saying they don't have anything to do.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Savedowson?
Yeah, with the recommendation about having its own
Commission?
commission, I think it could probably be wrapped under Parks and Recreation, Human Services Commission. It makes sense to just put it in there. But I just wanted to say something about the farmers market. Rose and I were in Advancing Leadership in 2003, I believe, when you pitched this idea, and I'm so happy that you went ahead and did it, although the class did not pick it up and take on it. But Rose's tenacity and her energy, I guess, is what has gotten it started, and it's still here. And I'm so happy that it's part of Federal Way, staple, and something that we can talk about and that we look forward to, and I'm so grateful and thankful that it's not going away. So just wanted to say thank you, and just going back in history to say that you really didn't give up when the class said no to that project. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Walsh?
Yeah, I would just like to say that one of the things that the farmer market does is helps build community. And building community is one of the most important things that we can do here in Federal Way, I think. And I commend Rose and her husband and daughter for the great job that they have done in doing that, and I'm so delighted that it will continue on. And I think that with the support of the city, we can, grow into even bigger things. And as the council president mentioned, I mean, there's a lot of other opportunities. The winter market, you mentioned Tampa, they don't know what winter is. I'm not sure what, how that'll work here. But I mean, I think that there is room for growth as well. So, thank you.
Well, very good. Okay.
It was dark, we were looking all over for an alligator in Tampa Bay, we were by the water, and then we stumbled over one, but it was cement, so kind of disappointing.
Okay, we are right on, Bill, thank you very much.
you're
Bill
welcome.
does so much work. I really appreciate all the work you do, Bill. We are right on target. We've got a hard stop for both at 5:40, so we are right at the 5:20 mark. Great job. Now let's move on to item B, presentation of potential public market, something we've heard a great deal about, and we are very excited about what we hear so far. So, Greg, why don't we kick it off with you first?
Thank you very much. Thank you, council members and Mayor Farrell. I'm Greg McCann, Board Vice President of the Federal Way Public Market. Federal Way is centered on opportunity, but with the arrival of light rail and the development of downtown, the Federal Way Public Market is seizing on opportunity. Today, I'd like to talk about our vision for a public market, the benefits, the ask today from the City Council, who we are and who supports us, where the market should be, and talk about the near-term costs for the project. We want to build a public market that is the heart and soul of our new downtown. The public market will be reflective of our community and be a place that all Federal Way residents can call their own. It will be a de facto community hub. We want to ensure that our beloved farmers market has a permanent home, a home with permanent power, cover, cold storage, and real bathrooms. We will have a business incubator to help local entrepreneurs get started so that maybe we have the next Sur La Table or Starbucks, both of which started out small in Pike Place. A commercial kitchen and classroom can be used for classes, demonstrations, and even for vendors to create products to sell in the market. We would love to see a senior center and childcare in or adjacent to the market. And we envision a plaza out front that could host any number of events. Before we get any further, I want to share with you what our visioneer, Ron Walker, who's not with us this evening, has imagined for the transit-oriented site where we think the market should be located. You're looking over the TOD to the north, the pack on the upper left, the rail coming in from the right, and the station on the center right. Now we'll swing down into the animation and you can see what the TOD could become. You see here 6 mixed-use apartment buildings with ground floor retail and services. And every one of those rooftop decks could be configured with views of the Olympics and Mount Rainier. As we swing around to the south, you can see the market building with great access for delivery trucks, and you get an aerial view of that plaza. In this imagining, it's set up with a bunch of extra canopies for a huge farmer's market or other event. You can see how the station makes it so easy to get into downtown and to the market, and how we'll be able to welcome visitors and tourists alike to Federal Way. The market itself would be about 50,000 square feet in this building, taking up the bottom 2 floors. The upper floors could have housing, the senior center, childcare, you name it. Let's take another view across the plaza and imagine all the things that could be here, both permanent or seasonal. You could have a car show, an Oktoberfest, an ice skating rink, New Year's celebrations, a fountain, an ADA park. The possibilities are limitless. The market would host dozens of small businesses. You would probably have anchors like a restaurant or a brew pub, plus larger permanent vendors like Owens Meats, a baker, fishmonger, florist, plus smaller booths and tables. The market would be a fantastic place for the high school DECA kids to try out their entrepreneurial skills. Public markets raise property values. That would lead to probably about $1 million annual increase in property tax revenue for the city in the downtown area. Tax revenue that could help with tax increment financing. The city of Federal Way has a traditional retail draw of about 300,000 people. But public markets are different. Public markets are regional attractions. And for that, think more of a 30-minute Saturday morning drive time. There are 1.2 million people inside of that circle, plus many more up the light rail. All of that foot traffic will spill out into surrounding businesses as well. So Center Plaza, SeaTac Village, Gateway Center, and the Commons will all benefit from this increased foot traffic. The market is a rising tide that lifts all boats. Lastly, public markets are placemaking. They're not just about retail, they are about community, a place where everyone feels welcome, a third place beyond home and work where people spend time. We have some great elements downtown, the PAC, the park, the grand staircase. The public market is the fourth leg of that stool and will help tie everything together and make downtown a livable, vibrant, and well-connected place. This is the legacy you will bestow upon the city. So how can the city help make this happen? In a word, support. We need city support. The path forward is much rockier without it. The state has already provided the market with $77,000 towards the feasibility and site studies, and we would like the city to match that. Building the public market would likely be much easier if the city controls the TOD site rather than Sound Transit. And there is recent precedent for this at Linwood's TOD station. In addition to funding, a resolution of support from the city provides critical, visible commitment to the market. We've approached the county and the port for funding, and they have asked us where the city stands on this. Your support matters. It's essential for our success. The Federal Way Public Market is a 501c3 nonprofit, and here's our board. You've met most of us in this chamber and at many community meetings around the city. Most of us are long-term residents of Federal Way. I think that the least amount of time is about 25 years here. But most importantly, we are all dedicated to developing a public market in Federal Way. Our most prominent supporters so far has been the 30th Legislative District, who acquired the $77,000 in taxpayer funding to get us started on our studies. But we also have support from other groups, most importantly from the farmers market. Thank you very much to the Ill family for that. And with that $77,000, we have begun our feasibility study. We've contracted with Public Market Development, the premier contractor consultants for public market development in North America. It's headed by Aaron Zaretsky, who spent 15 years as the director of Pike Place Market. Most crucially, Aaron has helped raise over $200 million for market development. His partner, Mark Ernst, is the most experienced public market architect in North America. We had them here a little over a year ago to tour the city and the downtown area, and they both immediately agreed that the TOD site is the best place for the market. It has tremendous access from I-5, 99, 18, and of course, light rail. Every morning, you have commuter traffic passing through the market to the station, and then the same in the afternoon. It also creates a great weekend destination for light rail. And someday, we hope to add walking and biking as ways you can get to the market, as the market becomes the hub on the trail between Steel Lake Park and Celebration Park. The feasibility and site studies, along with the Community Advisory Committee, will cost about $150,000 to complete. Right now, the state's covered about half of that. And again, we're asking if the city can cover the other half. If the feasibility study is positive and says that we have a good chance of success, and only then would we move on to work on the business plan for the market. We'd seek county, state, port, and of course, private financing as we can. The public market will create a livable, vibrant, and well-connected downtown. And it'll be the downtown that we've always deserved. And I strongly feel that the public market will change the narrative on Federal Way. The city will benefit hugely through increased revenue, through property and sales tax. We'll create many new small businesses. And I can't emphasize enough that city support is crucial for the success of the public market. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
All right. Council, any questions for Mr. McCann? For Greg? Councilor McDaniel?
Yeah, a couple questions. It's kind of nice to have you guys both here at the same time so we can bounce some questions back and forth. So I understand what the farmer's market is offering, and I know what the ask is. It's $40K for a purchase, and then there's 2 part-time employees throughout the year. The public market is asking for $77,000 to do the, could you go back a slide or two so I can actually read it? I don't want to
Yeah,
misspeak.
absolutely.
The one that has the 2, that bar chart right there, to get the feasibility study done. What does the feasibility, so we put $150,000 investment. What does the feasibility study bring back to us? What is that going to provide us for information?
It's an investment. Obviously, if the feasibility study comes back and says that this is not a good idea, we would not waste any more anyone's time or money. Pivot, figure out a way to make the farmer's market bigger and better. If it is positive, and so far we think it will be based on what Aaron Zaretsky has told us, I would say it's an investment for the city to create this game changer on the ground, and eventually the increase in property values will more than pay for what that initial investment is. And our goal would be that that would be the last thing the city would invest in us, because our goal is to be financially self-sustaining as a market within 3 to 5 years, and that would be what the business plan would be able to show.
Okay. Now, does the site study not have a basic business plan in it, or is it strictly a viability of them looking at the different data and determining if our market can sustain a public market?
It's to determine the viability. So the feasibility study looks at sort of the general area. The site study looks at a specific location, so you can see what rents and costs would be. And if those are positive, the business plan is basically the how-to. And Aaron has developed these for different markets. They're very location specific. Tells you how to run that market and make it successful in your area. It talks about vendor development, placement of things within the market, all those items that make a market successful.
Gotcha. And is the business plan, who develops the business plan then?
That is a service that Aaron Zaretsky and his partner provide.
Okay. Now, the location, I do agree, is a great location for it. If that was to go down, would it be, is the public market looking at having the city purchase and develop the property then into the public market display, or is there something that's?
There's a couple of ways that this can be done. You know, if it stays TOD, we have to work with whatever developer is willing to work with us. We would provide them the business case of why we think the market would help their property and help improve their investment in those properties. It would be similar for the city. I don't know the details of if the city took it over of how the developer part would change. I don't know, Cindy, if you've got any experience there.
So in talking and giving briefings with some of the council members, one of the questions that's come up is, could the city just buy the TOD site? And absolutely it can. And I've got a couple of handouts that I'll hand to you folks after we're done here. But one of those talks about in the city of Linwood. The city of Linwood was the first, although when Sound Transit presented to you a couple months ago, and they said there was that this would be the very first TOD housing development. Well, that was not true at all, because up in Linwood, they're doing this. But the city of Linwood bought the TOD site outright for $167,000 is all it was, on a place that's valued at $2.4 million. And that happens a lot with these kind of properties. They can be sold from one government to another for a nominal fee, and that's what I expect that we could do here. We could negotiate hard with the Sound Transit to have the city buy this entire site, if you wanted the entire site. And then you can control, when I listen to some of your concerns and questions about what housing might be and what kind of things would go on that site, you would have a lot more control. And while it still would have to fit into the state law, which was Senate Bill 58, or I think that's what it was, then it would have to fit into the TOD requirements, the 80 you've heard about. Again, I have a document that spells that out a little bit more, but that way you have more control, not just on where our part of that might be, but on the other elements that you've expressed interested in doing on this site, including the ice rink and ADA park and other things like that. So there are a lot of different ways to acquire that property, as well as there's many ways you can finance that. The city has numerous options available, including a lid tax, local improvement district tax, a tax increment financing, and then there is a ton of money from HUD for medium-sized cities to redevelop their downtowns. And that's the kind of stuff I have actually worked on before.
Okay. Two quick last questions then, and actually the piece of property you're looking at is one of the ones that does need to be cleaned up, so I'm sure it's maybe a better deal. Who owns the public market in the end? If we go through, we do the committee, we do the business plan, everything's done, the building's actually, who owns that and who's responsible for the vendors and all that part then?
That would be either this 501c3 or some other foundation that we would establish to run the market. It would be nonprofit run, would have a board taken from the community, elected officials to run it. You'd have an executive director to run the day-to-day, to do the hiring, firing, getting the vendors and all that sort of thing. So the nonprofit run allows you to keep your rents a little bit lower, allows you to get your, raise funds for that business incubator, a new person in for 6 months, get them trained up, get them the space, develop their business, grow them, and maybe, grow them out to brick and mortar somewhere. But, as a nonprofit, we'd be able to raise funds for other kinds of programs in the market. And then one of the ways that public markets go bad is they become, for a for-profit corporation, then they start chasing after chains to bring in more revenue, and that's not what we want to do. We want to keep this local, local vendors, small vendors, and no national chains in the market to keep the local character.
Thank you.
Okay, we got 4 minutes left, a couple of questions, so let's be fast on both ends. Councilor Honda?
Thank you. I certainly support the farmers market, but I also know that El Centro Del Raza is in the process of building their farmers market. And I met with them about 5 weeks ago. They own their land and they have half the money that they need to build it. They anticipate $10 million to build the building, even though they own the land. And they're also going to, their plans include the public market, which they already run one in Seattle, so they know how to do it. Childcare, a senior center, and offices. So it's interesting that yours sounds so similar to theirs. But $10 million, even owning the land, is a lot of money to raise. And I'm not, did you know that, that they're in the process? Because they said they have not talked with you.
So I have talked with one of the members of the board, and I've had a long relationship with El Centro in Seattle. So the market that they're producing is going to be tailored specifically to a specific population. The public market, the Farmers Federal Way public market, is going to be tailored to the entire city. It'll be reaching out to all the constituents. We strongly support what they're doing. It's really wonderful what they've done, and what they've done in Seattle on Beacon Hill is really wonderful and has become a great gathering place. But Federal Way is big enough now that we can have more than one. And again, ours is in a much better proximity to the transportation hubs that are there. And then we would be serving a very, very large region as well with the entire population of the city.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilor Adobe?
Yeah, I just have two quick questions. I think I heard 150,000, but the real request is 70,000, right? Because the state's already put half in?
Yeah.
Correct.
And,
Yes.
and the other question is, I know with the TOD, there's RFPs that are coming up very shortly. Could the community market put in an RFP that had housing and a market and support from the city? I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that would have to be done if you don't control the property, but we have about 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, something like that, before TODs go into RFP, and maybe we need to.
Councilman Dovey, I think they're only doing RFP on the two uncontaminated sections
Well,
right
maybe we
now.
want to do all four. I
Okay,
mean,
Brian,
I just put it out because there's a timeline.
Brian, why don't you have, we'll talk to legal counsel and work on that. Council President?
I would also, as I talked to you before, Cindy, so the Korean Women's Association have their property, that property was given to them nonprofit.
Correct.
For 40 years, at least at $1 a year.
Correct.
And I certainly, if you would partner with a developer that would build senior housing, because their senior housing is only for a particular cultural folks, which is fine. But if we would be very interested in low-income senior housing above the public market. I don't know if there's any way you can partner with somebody and come in as a nonprofit and ask for Sound Transit to give you a reduced rate or, a lease for the same lease they got.
Well, there's definitely different ways to approach it. The way the TOD program was developed was that the Sound Transit would be contracting with, doing through RFPs, would be contracting with nonprofit developers,
Right.
not,
So get somebody to partner with you.
right, but we were hoping to do it with the city, again, looking very much that there was strong support among some council
But the
members.
city wouldn't develop a senior housing. I mean, that's,
Never say never.
Yeah. There's just a lot of options that are available. There's a lot of interest in a lot of different things that could be done on this property, for absolute sure. We have confidence that if we get city approval and we can, whether it's working with a developer or working with the city owning that property, that this would be able, we could get this funded and we could get the construction funded, both through philanthropy and through development.
Okay.
Things.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you. Yes.
One more thing, before you all go, I've brought treats for each of you that would be an example of the kind of thing that might be developed and sold in the market. So don't run off too quickly.
All right, thank you very much. We will be in executive session for up to probably about 45 minutes for purposes of the following reasons. Thank you, everybody, for your presentations. Thank you, David, Rose, Carla, Vicky, Greg, great job. Thank you to the David. Thank you very much, everyone involved. Okay, and thank you, Cindy. Okay, executive session, collective bargaining pursuant to RCW 4230-1404B, property acquisition pursuant to RCW 4230, thank you, 1101B, potential litigation pursuant to RCW 4230-1101I, and the fourth and final, sale or lease of property pursuant to RCW 4230-1101C. Once again, that'll be approximately 45 minutes in duration. We will be in recess for that purpose.